Cool.
The Mets blow it up at the trade deadline, and the Yankees do nothing, leaving both fan bases irate. Diamond diehards up at the trade deadline, and the Yankees. Joe Rizzo here, bringing you baseball along with the dog, Jeff Healy. Maybe the Rook is coming on too, but if she does, we'll let you know. Yeah, we're now an hour past the trade deadline. It is August 1st. We haven't been on in these airwaves in a while, so the dog and I, beers in hand, are both going to drown our sorrows for various reasons.
Drink them if you got them.
Boy, this was an interesting one, dog. The like, I know there's really like no pleasing the fan bases of the Yankees and the Mets, but it just seems like the way that it all went down. So the Mets trade Max Scherzer, and everybody's like fine with that because I don't think anybody really liked him that much in Metville anyway.
No, that's not true. I would say Scherzer to me was more understandable. Yes, he always had this whole sort of Nationals thing and stuff, but like he did a great job last year and stuff. I think some people were maybe being a little short-sighted and sort of blasting away, but realistically, whatever's going on with the whole sticky thing, like he just wasn't the same this year, and the trend line kind of wasn't your friend on it. So as a Met fan, the Scherzer one, I kind of got it. I'm like, to me, I was looking at 24, right? You're not going to do it in 23. It's questionable if he's really going to be a really big help in 24. So if you trade him off and get a good prospect, that's kind of what you're supposed to do. And you're not tanking next year with the Scherzer trade, in my opinion.
No, you're not. But
yeah.
Right. But yet, are you? Like, so okay, so he's gone. It's a wrap.
It's not a rebuild. Can you have a rebuild if you haven't built it in the first place?
But then the one that really gets people is they trade Verlander, who gets a standing ovation, and then in his last game, and he's really pitching well. He's starting to look like Verlander. You're on the outside looking in, but you're not like that far away. If you it's like a week of good baseball, right? And it's not just okay. So this is where it falls apart for me, as if you're a Met fan. And listen, there's bias as a Yankee fan here because your owner is just fucking ruining baseball, dude. Like, I mean, come on. Basically, what happened from the span of everybody that's not the Astros, here's what happened, right? Or maybe most importantly, in the eyes of the Astros, this is what happened. Okay, this is what happened. Instead of the Astros signing Verlander,
I'm so looking forward to a Yankee fan tell me how we're a free spending owner is ruining baseball. I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy this for a little bit. So go ahead.
No. I don't mind him free spending. I mean, it's his money. He made the idiotic contract to Lindor, which I told you he never should have done. That and he's fine.
He's doing okay right now. He's doing okay. My guy's doing okay. Thanks.
Is he above 217 yet?
Stop.
She gone.
So
here's the thing. If you're the Astros, you just basically stole Verlander. You gave him away for 8 months, a few of which contained baseball, one of which he didn't even pitch for. And now they have to pay him. Like, they could basically get 2 1/3 years of him for $29 million because the Mets are going to be paying $54 million of it. And if he vests the option for the last year, which he's going to do, probably, he needs like 140 innings next year. So basically, by you trading him to Houston, which is, probably one of the few destinations he was willing to go, or maybe the only one. And okay, the Mets get back the 1st and 4th prospects in the Astros system. But that's all relative. If you get the first prospect back in the Orioles system, I'm saying, all right, like pay whatever. Yeah, the Astros don't even have a top 100 prospect. It's like getting the 20th best guy in the Orioles system. which a deal you never would have done. Never.
Okay. Already you're flat out wrong. So just using the MLB pipeline. So Drew Gilbert was number 68. So and there's
the re-rankings are going to come. The re-rankings are coming out tomorrow, and he's going to be like 168 because he hasn't done anything this year.
Okay, he hasn't done anything. Okay, he hasn't done anything. Let's see.
Last year, yes.
Clifford was going way up too, right? So who knows? That guy was there. I was just reading him re-racked. He would have been number 2 behind Gilbert. So
okay, fair. So you would have had 103 and 107 in MLB. Point is, I don't mind you getting those guys if you're not going to pay them. Meaning if you're not going to pay Verlander. Like, why are you paying the freight on Verlander if you're getting lesser prospects from X team, whatever? Just fair. Because, like, so at that point, if I'm a Met fan, I'm like, why are you trading him away? I want him. If we have any chance of doing anything this year, and they traded Tommy Pham and they traded Marcana, okay, those guys are those deals are fine. Nobody's going to complain about those deals. Whatever you get for them, you get for them. They're smaller contracts. They're short term. They're 2, corner type outfielders in their, early 30s for Kana, mid 30s for Pham. And okay, you want those guys if you're a contending team, but if you fall out of contention, they're the first guys that, you trade to just get any kind of piece for. If you really like them that much, you can get them back in basically any offseason that you want. So that's not a big deal. But the Verlander piece, just, if he pigeonholed you into that one team, right, and that's all that you were going to get for him, then fine. Tell the Astros, look, give us these guys, but we're not paying the freight on them. But then they end up paying the freight on him. If you're going to pay the freight on him, I'd rather keep him. Keep him. Why not? It doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Well,
I mean,
I will say, Cohen looked at as the sunk cost of the contract, and they were trying to bring in the max talent possible off it. So I think maybe in his circumstance, where in the past you would have had an either give me your best prospect or pay all the money. That's not necessarily the case for him at this point. That he's just trying to look to maximize value, and he's not as worried about the salary. Is that right or wrong? I don't know. Right? I mean, it would be nice that if you're going to pay the money, you get the best prospects around. He theoretically got the top 1 and arguably 2, if you want to say he's 4. The 2 of the top 5 prospects in the team that was going to it. Now, would I have rather had a top guy from the Orioles? Yes. Like you correctly point out, he may not want to go to the Orioles. So that may not have been an option. So if it's not an option, it's not an option. So then it turns into, and I know, and I will say up front, I think they got a decent value with Verlander, but my preference I think the Mets should have kept him, is my view, because I think, with the resources that you have, and the young guys kind of coming up and stuff, and not a ton of pitching coming up for next year, I don't think you need to write off 24, as apparently the Mets are now doing with the Verlander trade. Like, I think you could have done these other trades, kept Verlander, and still been a very legit wild card to division winning team. Things go right, kind of guys stepped up, et cetera, et cetera. You reload, you tried a couple guys, some worked, some didn't. Everyone basically underachieved, 30, 40 points on the back of their card this year. A little return to to the mean, and you're right there. You give up Verlander, again, now you're kind of 25, 26. And just as a franchise sort of thing, I thought the Mets are kind of past that. Like, I don't think the Mets needed to do that. Like, you can still be a competitive team, maybe not the best team, but certainly an above 500, and things break right. Hey, wild card and contending team next year. After you give up Verlander, probably not. And so it's kind of giving away a season, in my opinion, that you really kind of didn't need to do. Is my thing, and that's why I kind of don't. Of all the trades, I don't like the Verlander one, even though I think the guys they got were pretty good. But I don't kind of like the message that it sends, particularly with, a free spending owner like that. Like, yes, in the Wilpon days, you would have said we got to dump the money. You didn't dump the money. In fact, you're still spending the money, but you're kind of spending the money, and you're also not competing in the following year. And that to me, strategically, that doesn't make sense. Even if maybe tactically it might not be the worst trade, but I don't agree with it strategically.
Yeah, because they don't care.
Because now you have the resources, but you just are sending them to Houston
and Texas. Like the Mets have given $68 million to the AL West.
I mean, couldn't you have bought all of AAA for that?
Of course you could have.
You spent $100 million to buy 3 prospects. I mean, that's the real like eye popper on it. All the money that's going out there. But I guess from his point of view, he dropped $100 million, hoping that maybe he got lightning in the bottle, and Scherzer and Verlander hit it, and they win the World Series this year, and it didn't work.
But
and
listen, as a GM, you have to have a plan, and that plan is if these guys don't pan out, what are we going to do? And trading away the guys.
They said a year ago, we're going to eat the money and we're going to get the best prospects we can. And that's kind of what they did.
Okay, but the point is you don't have to eat the money if you're going to get the prospects that they got. Like the Scherzer deal is kind of fun.
Does Houston do it if they don't send the money? Can they afford to do it? I don't know.
Of course they can afford to do it. Make them afford to do it. Wow. If you're the Astros, how are you going to say no to the deal? How? You're not saying no.
I don't know. You say we can't afford to take on $100 million of Verlander for 2.5 years at this point, and give up our best prospects, knowing that the guy is 40, and he's doing he's doing okay now. His strikeouts are kind of coming down. There's legit. I mean, I don't know. If I'm the Astros, I wouldn't be saying, yeah, I'm gonna lift that thing off you and give you my top 2 prospects for a guy who's 40. That's an aggressive thing on that. I mean, I think the Mets would have had to sweeten it a little bit. Now the team I was hoping would go for would be the Dodgers, and the Mets actually get good pitching prospects back. So that's actually probably the one thing that really sort of hits me. In all these trades, you only have 1 or 2 kind of middling pitching prospects, and that's what the Mets really need. So they're getting a ton of position guys in, which is bizarre because the whole history of the franchise, they never have position players. Now they've got plenty of guys who are shortstop, second base potentials, third base potentials, but nobody can pitch. And you just got rid of your top 2 pitching guys. So that's the problem with Verlander. For getting rid of Verlander, I'm like, you pretty much roll off 24. I mean, you got Senga, you got Quintana, and McGill and Peterson, and let's see what else develops. And then maybe a free agent for next year. That's not a good spot to be.
Maybe you can get DeGrom back from the Rangers.
Someone who had that? Somebody was throwing that out there with Scherzer. It's like we were getting DeGrom back. Even Gary Cohen was throwing that on the air. That was a funny one.
Okay, Doug. So we got a lot of comments rolling in on the chat. So if you're
let me look right up here.
If you're
I'm actually paying attention for once.
If you're listening later on, or you're not able to, you got to go to the Facebook group because that's where we do the live stuff and jump in the chat. So Uncle Paul says happy Mets trading.
Yeah,
day.
See, Uncle Paul's right there with me. He's Met fan. He's not irate.
Uncle Paul says the Mets want to get younger and last a few years to come. I'm a Mets fan, but not irate.
Exactly.
I very much welcome the change. PJ says screw baseball. He's right. So he's on the Yankee fan side. Uncle Paul says Uncle Steve is the best. David said just move the Seaver statue to the mound inside the stadium. He's probably not wrong there. Uncle Paul says I like his vision on the team, and he's looking for the rookie from Monmouth. I don't know if she's coming on, Uncle Paul. She's got
family stuff.
Yeah, she thinks her family's more important than
the real question.
Diehards family.
Is is Bartolo going to start on September 17th?
He might.
He seriously might. I'm going. I'm like, I've paid enough money. I'm paying you to come in for a day. I want 5 innings out of you.
Listen, we talk about this stuff all the time, right? Here's why it's not good. Because when you operate with bad economics, it always comes back to bite you in baseball. It always does. These are bad economic decisions when you put the two of them together. If you just took one, it's not as bad. But when you take the second one, you even said it. You're like, you don't agree with the Verlander trade. And the reason why you don't agree with it is it's dumb. It was dumb. It was a dumb move. They shouldn't have done it. And that's not because look, the Yankees are in a position where, especially after they did virtually nothing at the trade deadline. Okay, they got some guys coming back, but they just have too many holes. I mean, we know that Judge can carry the team. We know that Rodon can, be a good pitcher and help the rotation. But Severino looks like pure garbage. They're sending down Marinaccio, who's usually been one of their better relievers and just hasn't been able to find. Like, the Yankees have somehow stayed above 500. And yeah, they do have enough pieces where if guys start turning it on, they could go on a tear and get back into it. But they certainly didn't go out and do anything to like actually help themselves here. It's a different level of irate. So you're not, as a Yankee fan, looking so much at the Astros like you have in these past years. So it is a difference, Dawg. It is a difference. You're not looking at the Astros as much of a team to beat as you're looking right in your own division, the young Orioles, who are just going to keep replenishing with like more, like all more new, young, awesome dudes, right on the hill.
Like the Mets are going to be doing in 2 years.
They're not. The Mets did not get those.
Yes, they are.
They don't have. They literally don't have that.
5
the Orioles have
guys in there now. Stop. The Orioles sucked for like 15 years to get that way. The Mets have 5 top 100 guys now. And that doesn't count Alvarez, one of the best young catchers in baseball. It doesn't count Beatty, who hopefully is pretty good.
Alvarez, the next Alvarez. Oh, the next Gary Sanchez. Crap.
Okay.
Dawg said,
guy named Alonso. Like that. They got some good young guys. I mean, it's funny. I mean, actually, to kind of take it back, what's kind of proved out this year is our theory of. More your theory, but I was there with you too, about going with the old pitcher, and the old pitchers are okay. That got blown up this year hard. The old pitcher got smoked.
We talked about it before the
season. Maybe it was the pitch clock that was the effect that we didn't think that would have. That we thought that it would help the KG veteran, and maybe it just sort of proved that the guys.
I don't know. I mean,
need a little bit more recharge.
Verlander's been fine. Verlander has looked.
No, I mean,
Verlander has looked like Verlander. Okay,
strikeouts it down though. I mean, he's doing a great job as like a veteran pitcher on that, and he's dealing with like losing a little bit off the high end, but he's finding a way to get through and get the job done. So that's something, and I know I'm not bash him on it, but his time is kind of shown a little bit too. Like I wouldn't feel, if I were the Mets, I wouldn't feel awesome about when he pitched his 141st inning next year, and I got $35 million coming the year after that. Like I think he'll get through it. I think he'll be fine. He'll be a KG vet, and I think it'll be great this year. I think it'll be good next year, which is why I wanted to keep him there. That year after, at 35 mil. That one, I don't know. So. And that was the cost, right? They went for it. They went to try and, jump in and get the series this year. And they had to pay that extra option year for, year 42 for Verlander to do it. It didn't work, and they moved on. I mean, that's sort of thing when Cohen, like, is his view is it's more like a business perspective. Like, it's a sunk cost. Like, stop worrying about the fucking sunk cost, pardon my French. But like the money's out. So therefore, don't sit there and like and cripple your organization around finding ways to get rid of the sunk costs. Just get rid of it. Don't consider it in your option. Don't consider it in your strategy. You already made your mistake. So don't double down on it by trying to find ways to make that less of a hit. Just take that hit, move on, and try and get the best assets you can get going forward because you already made your mistake. So
fair enough, but I will say it, and I will say it over and over.
It's
again.
not. I will say
good.
I don't think
good economics go much further. They go much further. You should always operate your franchise with good economics. Yeah. Period. It's proven to be the winning strategy. It doesn't matter if you're a big market team or the biggest market teams, or if you're a small market team. Good economics come first. These are not good economics.
Yeah, and it's the farm system. I mean, honestly, the Mets did not have the farm system, and that's saying they're trying to be the Dodgers, right? That was kind of the Dodgers 10 years ago, trying to buy some guys and get stuff. But then the Dodgers are great now because their system has been so deep, and continue to develop players, and that's what the Mets are trying to. They were trying to do it at the same time, and they realized that I think they like I said, they tried to catch lightning in a bottle this year, and maybe they short circuit a little bit, and threw all the cash at it, and they said, you know what, it's a mistake, and now it's basically back to building up the farm system, and that's how you get sustainable success, which was theoretically Cohen's goal. So
I still think
he screwed up. I mean, it wasn't it was a mistake, and I don't begrudge it. I think it was a good shot coming into it. I thought. The Mets, had they played like the back of their cards, they should have done well. They didn't. And that's just it. I mean, it happened. So, bite your bullet, realize you made your mistake on a couple of guys, and move on.
All right. Uncle Paul says Domingo Germán is not any better. The new O's are going to win it all this year. He thinks they're going to win it this year. Oh, boy.
There you go.
PJ says, sorry, let me clarify. Screw the Yankees and hence baseball. Wow. Well, when the Yankees start rolling, I have a feeling he's going to walk across the street and hang out in the Rizzo Cabana and be like, I can't believe the Yankees are doing this well. I still hate them, but
It's funny what happens when 99 walks back through the door.
Makes a big difference. I'll tell you that.
It does.
Yes, it does. That cures a lot of wounds.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Yankees, I think there might have been a second late deal. They got Kenyon Middleton from the White Sox for Juan Corella. Yes, if you're asking who, then we are too. That was a deal with the White Sox. So Middleton was DFA'd by the White Sox. Who are horrible.
Like
and he had been with the Angels, Mariners. He'd been with the
diving.
Angels, Mariners, and Diamondbacks, and that's since like the pandemic. But 11.6 Ks per 9 innings this season, 221 expected batting average allowed via Statcast. We don't really care about that. He will provide depth to a Yankee bullpen that already features Wandy Peralta, Ian Hamilton, Michael King, and Alberto Abreu, in addition to closer Clay Holmes. Sorry to whoever wrote this blurb on MLB.com. No, the guy's had like a 10 ERA the last month. Okay, and the Corella is a 21-year-old guy at high A, so probably they didn't really give up anything in the deal to get much back. There's some interesting deals that have gone down. I thought there was another Yankee deal that I saw on Twitter that's not in this list, but I did refresh it all the way.
This one, Spencer Howard.
Oh yeah, I don't see that in this list. I don't know.
Yeah, I have an MLB trade rumors for cash. Spencer for hire.
Yeah, well, he's not going to make it. It's not. It's a point.
Don't the Rangers, so yeah.
If you're the Yankees,
he's the guy they had to cut when they got Scherzer, I guess.
So here's your argument for, if you're the Yankees, that the guys that you theoretically would have traded if you were throwing in the towel like the Mets did would have been Harrison Bader and Wandy Peralta probably, maybe Kiner Falefa, guys that would have been free agents after the season.
Yeah.
So in theory, right? If you simply just don't trade those guys, even though they're already on your team, it's like keeping a bunch of guys that you would want for maybe more for the playoffs rather than an actual playoff run. Like Tommy Pham.
That's Wilpon talk right there.
Well, I said in theory, I didn't say I agreed with it. Now, I would have wanted to add to those guys. I thought there were some names that went today that made sense that the Yankees could have. I thought
the Yanks would get Tommy Pham, actually.
They're already so right-handed.
Yeah,
they really needed a left-handed guy. But you know what? Bowers and McKinney are the guys that you're using to try to fill that spot. And Kiner Falefa, you plug him in there. I mean, Josh Donaldson's now out for the year, so you figure out something at third base. If you put Cabrera out there, it's another switch hitting bat, so you get the lefty bat in there. So there's kind of a way where you're saying, well, the team's been a little bit above 500 and they've not had Judge for 2 months, and now they have more guys coming back and Judge is back in the mix. So you sort of have what the basis of what you need, but they're not getting anything to like put them over the top. So the inaction sort of looks, it's bad optics, right? Dawg, it's fucking bad optics. I mean, like, you didn't get anybody.
Yeah, but
PJ on our chat, Inside Info. He's got tickets to the game Thursday. He might not go because he doesn't want to give him a dime. I'm not kidding. You think I'm kidding if he's still on? Yeah, but the Yankees should trade for Vogelbach. Uncle Paul says no. And the reason why is because they're already log jammed at the DH. They can't afford to put a full-time DH.
Hang on. I just heard that late breaking. Vogelbach was traded for a bucket of chicken. Oh, wait. No, I'm sorry. Vogelbach just demolished a bucket of chicken.
Uncle Paul says he's left-handed. Uncle Paul, it doesn't matter. You have Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton occupying.
How many immovable guys do you want?
Like, they have to occupy the DH. Judge with the toe is not probably going to be able to play as much in the outfield, and he and Stanton are going to have to split it. So if you have a DH like Vogelbach in there, he likes chicken. Uncle Paul says he likes everything. That's not nailed down.
Give me some chicken.
And you just, that's again something that we've talked about here over the years. Even when Stanton plays well, like Stanton's got to play extremely well, and he has to play the outfield for him to alleviate the fact that even though he's not right now, but he's been an exceptional player. Like in the past, he's been a top 10 level hitter in the major leagues. Having him on your team with the makeup that you have, for the good that he does, unless he does great, he's hamstringing the team because you have no more versatility. You have none. Like, you're locking guys into position, and that's not good.
As a Yankee fan, who are you disappointed the Yankees didn't get for like a real for this year?
Okay, I'm going to go over this trade list. So, Dawg, I have the MLB every 2023 trade list. The one, I think I sent you that link in the chat. That's what I'm going on. Okay. And I will go through. We'll zip through these, and then I'll give you there are some guys that I earmark.
Every trade deadline deal. This is why every show we do is an hour and a half.
Yeah, this is why. We're going to shove it down your throat.
Would you like the top 3 guys I'd like to get?
Somebody keep your eye on the Facebook chat. Okay. Jack Flaherty to the Cardinals, of the Cardinals to Baltimore for Cesar Prieto and Drew Rome. Okay. Flaherty, not as big of a need for the Yankees to take a risk on the pitcher. So I don't want to use, if I was using any of the trade chips, I don't want to use them on a pitcher. So
really? I thought starting pitching was actually the primary gap for you guys.
Typically, yes, but I feel like there's just other holes that are bigger, and the problems haven't been as much the pitching as they've been the offense. The offense is a real
you love
problem.
Flaherty too.
I do, but
Okay.
get him in the offseason.
I thought that was the natural tee up number one for you. Okay. All right.
Okay, Padres get the Royals closer, Scott Barlow. Again, I don't want to give my resources. I don't have a lot of chips.
Yeah, your bullpen's
right.
Good.
I don't have a lot of chips. I'm not going for Scott Barlow. Padres get Garrett Cooper, the first baseman, and Sean Reynolds from the Marlins. For Ryan Weathers, not interested, but probably a good deal for the Marlins when you consider the next deal. They get Josh Bell from the Guardians for Gene Segura and Khalil Watson, who's an infielder. So actually, interesting deal for the Guardians too, because Segura is a guy that's like, he's sort of like a clutch guy that you can kind of throw anywhere, even though he plays like in second base, but he'll kind of hit. Like he might out hit Josh Bell, but the Marlins get the switch hitting first baseman type over there, and they move on from Garrett Cooper, who's been pretty good for them as a right. The
Guardians went and promptly released him. Wow, that's rough.
Oh, Garrett Cooper. Yeah, well, they probably
Segura.
didn't have space. Oh, they released Segura.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Somebody should. Maybe the Yankees will pick him up. Even though he's another right-hander. Okay, the other Met deal, they got Phil Bickford and Adam Kolarek from the Dodgers. Those are two arms, just for cash. 2 arms to fill the. Well, they had to fill the roster spots, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
This is a deal that I thought was very interesting. The Dodgers got Ryan Yarbrough, the lefty from the Royals, and he's a starter. Now, he's been with the Rays up until this year, and I've been watching him. I'm like, wow, the Royals, like, he's the only guy on the Royals that could pitch. And I mean, the Royals were like, we better get this guy off our team if we want to finish last. we want to finish behind the A's. Like, we better get this guy off our team quick. I thought this was a really underrated deal, a very shrewd deal by the Dodgers. So as a Yankee, I might have thought about him, depending on if there was not much of a chip to give. If the Royals were sort of like just trying to give him away because they want to finish last, he would have been a guy that I would have been interested in. So I'll be watching the Dodgers. And, my buddy Juan, who's the biggest Dodger fan that I know down in Mexico City, I'll be talking to him about this deal. I think that was a phenomenal deal for the Dodgers.
Look at this off just for the Dodgers. So I'm sitting there. Devin Mann, LA's number 29 prospect. His 29th prospect.
Yeah.
Was hitting 307 in AAA. I forget that organization is so ridiculous.
I know.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't have a ton of power or whatever else like that. Who knows? But like, really? The guy's hitting 300 in AAA. He's the 29th guy in your organization.
It's relative. I mean, is he hitting, that in 12 at bats?
89 games in AAA.
Yeah, I mean, it like, does he have 26 homers or 3? Right? It's.
I'm sure he has holes in this thing, but I'm just saying, you're number 29. The guy's hitting 300 there.
Yeah. That's
the first thing. Right. I mean, you got to figure he's got some sort of power. He's a first baseman, so
yeah.
Anyway,
Red Sox get Luis Urias from the Brewers to help their infield. So even the Red Sox make a tiny little move, but that, he's a solid player. Phillies get Rodolfo Castro from the Pirates for Bailey Faulkner. Interesting. Faulkner's a lefty. He's a pitcher. He's like had some moments here. Rodolfo Castro is the guy that slid into third last season and his phone popped out of his back pocket.
Right.
Like, I actually kind of like the guy though. Like I really was not happy with that move, but like as a player, I kind of like his game. He gives the Phillies a little juice, a little versatility, and some speed. So I kind of thought that was like a pretty good move for the Phillies as long and with the reemergence of Ranger Suarez and some of their solidity in the rotation, I guess they figured that Faulkner was the guy that they could give up. We talked about Tommy Pham going to the Diamondbacks, and they get the shortstop prospect Jeremy Rodriguez to the Mets. Middleton to the White Sox, from the White Sox to the Yankees for Juan Corella, an A-level prospect. Okay, Rays acquire Alex Jackson from the Brewers. He's a catcher for Evan McKendry. This is one of those like Rays moves where they're a little short on depth at the catching spot. I don't know. Jackson's probably going to see a little bit of time there, but we'll see if that ends up being any kind of deal that has impact. I doubt it. This one could, though. The Rangers get Austin Hedges, the catcher from the Pirates, for international bonus pool money, which is kind of interesting. So they've spent a lot on their current contract, so they're probably not looking to dive into the international pool, whereas the Pirates might be. This is a defensive catcher, Austin Hedges. He's a good receiver, doesn't do much with the stick, but Jonah Heim, who's had a really good season, hits the injured list, and he's one of the Qigong guys, by the way. I don't know if you knew that, Dawg.
No, I didn't know that.
Jonah Heim, yeah. So Hedges doesn't hit much, but he's really good defensively, and he's not making much money for the rest of the season, and he's a free agent at the end of the year. So that was an interesting deal. So that's one where I could have said, well, the Yankees could probably use a little extra depth at the catcher, but if they were going to go for a catcher like Alex Jackson or Austin Hedges, I wouldn't be as high on it because those are more defensive guys, and neither guy can hit. I mean, Kyle Higashioka is probably as good or better defensively than either of those guys, and it probably hits a little bit better. And are either of these guys better than Ben Rodford? I don't, I'm not that I'm going to throw anything at it. White Sox acquire Luis Patino from the Rays. He was one of the guys that they got in the Blake Snell deal a few years ago. He's still only 23. And he's had a lot of injuries, but I would have taken a shot on that guy just to get him in the organization. I don't know what his contract status is, but he's a guy that I've really liked in the past. So I kind of like that deal for the White Sox, and the Rays were just taking cash for him because they need the roster spot to open up. So I thought that was an interesting below the radar, move the deck chairs move that I like. Jake Berger. Marlins get him from the White Sox for a left-handed pitcher, Jake Eder. Berger's played mostly third. He's got a lot of power, and he would have been a guy, Dawg, that I was interested in for the Yankees. Throw him over a third. Again, not a high average, not a high on base percentage, strikes out a lot, but compared to the other guys that they're putting out there, he's also, those guys are also going to hit not that much, but at least this guy's going to pop one out of the park for you now and then. So Eder maybe cost a little bit more.
Josh Donaldson, but not quite as good.
Yeah, probably, but I think he's a left-handed bat or a switch hitter. So Miami gave up their number 4 prospect, this kid Eder, coming off Tommy John surgery, can strike people out. So maybe that was a little bit more than I would have paid. That price might have been a little bit high. Brewers get Andrew Chafin, the lefty from the Diamondbacks. He's, mid-30s kind of guy. He helped out closing for them this year, but now with Paul Sewald coming in, they move on from Chafin. And again, this is sort of like moving the deck chairs behind where the closer is. Sewald comes in, jumps right into the closer spot. Chafin for Peter Strzelecki. He's a right-hander. Not a bad deal for the Brewers. I mean, he's not replacing the Josh Hader that they dealt at the deadline last year. But you know what? Andrew Chafin's one of these guys who could pile up saves. The numbers don't look good. It's not that pretty, but he's kind of got brass balls. So kind of a good deal for the Brewers. I kind of like that one, but not one that I would have looked for the Yankees or the Mets. Mariners, Eduardo Bazardo for Logan Reinhart, pair of righties between the Mariners and the Orioles. We'll just pass on from that. Those were DFA type guys. Phillies got Michael Lorenzen from the Tigers for Hao-Yu Lee. Lee was actually a pretty solid prospect, so I was kind of surprised. But I guess the Tigers really sold high on Lorenzen, who made the All-Star team this year. And, the Phillies, Dawg, perpetually looking for help on the mound, especially in the bullpen. And Lorenzen, Mr. Universe, I think that I sense that the Philly fans are going to like Michael Lorenzen an awful lot, Dawg, and his workout ethic. Notice I didn't say work ethic; I said his workout ethic. He's a specimen. We talked about the Met deal, Verlander for Drew Gilbert and Ryan Clifford. Dawg, is telling me these guys are good. I think that the pipeline is gonna be updated, and Dawg's not gonna be as happy, but we'll see. Padres did an interesting one. Rich Hill, who's 43, 43, the 43-year-old lefty, and G-Man Choi, who is wonderful to have in the clubhouse, and another left-handed bat. They get him from the Pirates for Jackson Wolf, who's a lefty, Estuar Suero, who's an outfielder, and Alfonso Rivas. So the Padres dipping into some of what they have in the farm system to make this one happen.
How about this one, Riz? Just to crush my heart, leave him a little bit more. Rich Hill, more innings pitched than any Mets starter this year.
Oh my, Dick Mountain.
Wow, that's about $150 million worth of rotation out there, and Rich Hill has more innings than any of them. Now he's the second most of the Pirates. He does. I mean, it's 119 innings, so he's throwing a good amount of innings, but still, oh boy, ouch.
It's not a bad deal. Not a bad deal for the Pirates. I mean, neither of those guys. Like, if they were still in contention, I don't think they make that deal. If they were still closer after the awesome start. But those guys are not going to figure in their future, and they just add a few pieces to the
that's just to the puzzle. The story of the Pirates for the last 20 years, right?
Yeah, it's a little different though. This deal really makes sense. I think in the offseason you sign guys like Choi and Hill, and you hope, your best aspiration is like we make a run. This is the year. We're a year early or 2 years early, and these guys are going to help us, and they're going to be pieces to the puzzle. And if not, they're guys that you could deal, and if they're doing pretty well, you can get some potential pieces for them and just restock a little bit lower, and maybe
pretty much just like Cohen did with like an extra $100 million.
Bad economics. The Jays. Okay, this is an interesting one. They get Paul DeYoung from the Cardinals for Matt Svanson. So Bo Bichette got injured last night. Apparently, he avoided a serious knee injury, but they got DeYoung because they were kind of up against the deadline, and he was being shopped for sure by the Cardinals. Now he just becomes sort of an extra piece, like another right-handed hitting infielder type. Like, how many of them do they have in Toronto? Like, at what point is it enough? It's kind of like, I get why they did it, but like, I don't think it makes their roster appreciably better. I guess I could be wrong. DeYoung could, like, he's one of these guys that could get unconscious and just go on a tear, but I don't like, he's not playing over Bichette unless he has to. He's not playing over Whit Merrifield. He's just going to be, a bench player. So, all right. What did you give up for him? Svanson, he's a high A guy at this point. He's 24. Okay, fine. No big deal. Sometimes you just got to bite the bullet. Rockies get Justin Bruihl from the Dodgers for cash. Dodgers just got to move guys off the roster to make room for the other guys. Brad Hand is now the immaculate grid warrior as he adds the Braves to his list of many teams.
It's like him and David Robertson are like the perpetual, like, yeah, we need a guy.
Yeah,
okay, I got a guy for you.
I got a guy, Brad Hand. So he goes from the Rockies. He was on the Rockies. Alec Barger is the guy that goes the other way. So lefty Hand for righty Barger. Hand's getting out lefties. That's kind of what he does at this point in his career. So it's kind of funny because the Braves just got Pierce Johnson, who's basically been the Rockies closer because Daniel Bard's been out of it this year. They got Pierce Johnson last week, and now they get Brad Hand this week from the Rockies. And we'll see if this guy Barger ends up being anything. Probably not, but another double A type guy. Maybe
Can
he's
we,
got some juice in there.
even though it has really sort of no impact, we talk about like the Rosario for Syndergaard trade. How hilarious that was. And then Syndergaard goes out and throws like his best game in like 4 years. Well, 2 years.
That's what happens, right?
That was amazing. I was like, wow, that's weird. It's like even the Dodgers couldn't fix him. It comes to Cleveland, Jose throws 5 scoreless. Like, what?
So a deal involving 3 righties. The Rays get Adrian Sampson and Manuel Rodriguez from the Cubs for Josh Robertson. Low impact potential, except it always makes you feel like the Rays are up to something. Like these guys probably have funky arm angles. They probably throw speeds that are 25 miles per hour different. And you hope for the Cubs that Roberson is just a late bloomer. He's 27. He hasn't made it to the bigs yet. And he's been at AAA. So who knows? Tucker Davidson goes to the Royals from the Angels for cash. He was on the Braves when they won the World Series, right? Like he was one of these guys that came out of nowhere and he's kind of gone back to nowhere. This is just one where the Royals are getting an arm, taking a flyer. The Angels needed to move him out because they brought all these other guys in. This is a deal that I like. The Diamondbacks got Jace Peterson from the A's for Chad Patrick. So he gives them a little versatility. He's been playing with the A's third base for most of the season. He's kind of one of these guys that's been around and could maybe add something. And the guy that they gave up for him is really not much of a prospect. 4.71 ERA and 19 starts with AA Amarillo, but you never know. It's better for the A's to move Peterson and just get any kind of other pitching prospect, right? It doesn't matter. Just if looks like he's halfway decent, we'll take him. He's got the ability to strike some people out. But Peterson's a guy who could fit in there. He's been on some playoff teams, and he's got a nice, potential lefty bat if you're too right-handed. I mean, I know the Diamondbacks seem like they're very left-handed, but that's only really in the outfield. So I thought actually that was a good deal, and that would have been a guy that I was looking at. If I were the Yankees, you wouldn't have to give up anything really to get him. And okay, the Rook is telling me that she's having trouble getting in, Dawg.
Really?
But yeah, I haven't seen it pop up, so I don't know. Maybe it's from her. She said maybe she'll comment in the Facebook chat. All right, Rook. All right, well, Rook, do whatever you want to do. I got to keep reading. Kidding you. Reds get Sam Mole from the A's.
Because where else are you going to hear about this?
Yeah, Sam Mole from the A's for Joe Boyle. Mole's like not really that good. I was kind of surprised that this was the guy that the Reds went for. But again, it's like a really inconsequential, mostly deal. Cubs, Jose Quest from the Royals for Nelson Velasquez. Another one of these, like people taking a flyer. And that's all for well, let's see. I guess a couple of these were actually late yesterday. AJ Pollock and Mark Mathias go from the Mariners to the Giants for the player to be named later. Dawg, player to be named later.
There you go.
So AJ Pollock back in the National League West. Giants, I guess, with Mikey Yastrzemski out now. I think he's going to the 60-day injured list. They get a right-handed bat to help out in the outfield. So probably a solid deal. He's one of those guys that, in the years where the Giants are good, Dawg, guys like AJ Pollock just go there and explode, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to look up Jordan Montgomery so I can sit here and roast you about last year straight. But
hey, try all you want. Okay, now we're on to one where I thought the Yankees could have, if they were going to put some chips in. Jeimer Candelario goes from the Nationals to the Cubs for Kevin. I don't know if it's Made or Made, and left-handed pitcher. He's a shortstop, and left-handed pitcher DJ Hertz. I've liked Jeimer in the past in the Tigers years. He originally, I think, was a Cub. And he goes back there, switch hitter. When he's going well, he's a pretty solid player, and he's in a contract year. He needed a place to play this year, Dawg. He needed a place to play, and he got one in Washington. And this one works out for the Nationals. They turned one contract,
took a flyer. Yep.
Yeah, 2/3 of a season that they had to pay him, probably not even that much, and they're able to turn him into a couple of prospects here as they continue their rebuild. They're going to be back in it, probably pretty soon. Especially when you're starting to see some of the guys that all of a sudden you're like, wow, all these guys that the Nationals traded for, now there's guys going into their third year next year, and some of these guys are starting to show signs and be good. Interesting. And I think he fits well for the Cubs. He would have been a guy I liked for the Yankees. Plays third, switch hits. If he's on a roll, he can get you some hits. He can get on base a little bit. He just has definitely had bouts in his career where he's completely lost the plate. So I like that. I like that deal for the Cubs. I would have liked it for the Yankees.
Yeah, good good fielder. He's got a little pop to him, a little better average. So yeah, he would have been a good fit. Definitely a good fit.
Kana goes to the Brewers for Justin Jarvis. He's a righty. Brewers number 30 prospect. Had a 3.33 ERA and 75 2/3 innings in Double-A this season, but had a 10.80 ERA and 11 2/3 innings since being promoted to Triple-A.
11 innings. 11 innings. Needs to take a step.
Seawald, we talked about. They get Josh Rojas back to the Mariners, and he's another guy that's been streaky. Dominic Canzone hasn't showed it yet, but he's a solid prospect as well. And Ryan Bliss is an infield prospect. I kind of like this deal for both teams. Josh Rojas could play, and the Mariners have other guys in the bullpen. I don't think this is a complete sellout deal, but I think they were able to sell high on Seawald, who's been a little streaky up and down. Well, he was a Met, right? And not a good one. And one of these guys who, once he got away, he sort of found himself. So I kind of like that deal for both teams. And the Diamondbacks get what they want, and the Mariners kind of get a pretty solid haul. This is a good one. Rays acquire Aaron Savali from the Guardians for Kyle Manzardo. People are raving about this deal for the Rays. Aaron Savali is having a solid year. And yeah, he's under control for next year as well. That's great. I want to face him in the playoffs. I want to face him if I'm whatever team is facing the Rays. I want Aaron Savali starting against me in that game. And I'm sure he's a nice guy, and he's way better than I ever was at baseball. But I don't think this is a deal to go crazy about. I think a lot of people are going crazy about it. This was a great deal. I think they went a little crazy about it because it happened July 31st, about 24 hours before the deadline, and people needed stuff to talk about, and it was in that window. He's all right. He's back of the rotation. He's not a I wouldn't want to put him out there in a playoff game unless I had to. And he ended up starting against the Yankees in a playoff game for the Guardians last year. And that was good news for the Yankees.
It's funny, actually, kind of reading about the other guy, Manzardo, on the other side going over. He was the great Rays guy, blah, 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 and all this. And, he had over 1,000 OPS in high A and double A. Triple A, he has 238, 342, 442 slash, 73 games. So decent thing. And he turned 23. I was saying, I was waiting for him to say, all right, he was 21, right? It's all right, they pushed him in AAA. Maybe it was a bridge too far on him. 23 and you're getting exposed a little bit at AAA. I'm I don't know.
I don't disagree.
For the
I
number
don't
37
disagree.
prospect in baseball, I'm like, I wouldn't feel quite as awesome about that one on there. I'm like,
Doug, are we talking about Drew Gilbert right now? Or are we talking
oh,
about...
you are so bitter.
I'm not, but isn't that what happened with Drew Gilbert? Isn't he almost the same? He was a
Oh, he's
top prospect, and then he's
not.
gotten up to the next level, and he hasn't been as good this year as you expected. Again, I think sometimes we're so used to these guys making impacts early that you forget sometimes it just takes longer for other guys. You don't know what it is that they can figure out. It could be Drew Gilbert. If Drew Gilbert goes back to what he was the previous year, then that turns out to be a fine deal for the Mets, except that they probably didn't have to spend all that money to make it. You know, if it's last year, the maybe the Astros just don't even give him up as a prospect. Or maybe Chas McCormick, having a breakout second half of the year, they're thinking, okay, now Chas McCormick is like the guy, and it wasn't just a flash in the pan in the World Series or whatever. So I think there's a few ways to look at it. But Manzardo could still be a good prospect, and you saw what the Guardians did there, shifting around first base and DH, getting Josh Bell out of there. So they obviously think that he's a guy that, has a chance to arrive here pretty soon. Now we're back to July 30th, and this was the big news maker. The Angels, Dawg, pushing all their chips in the middle of the table here with trying to keep Ohtani. They announced they were not going to trade him. They get CJ Cron and Randall Grichuk from the Rockies for Jake Madden and Mason Albright, who are two pretty high prospects in the Angels organization, where they have a lot of pitchers, not a lot of whom have necessarily arrived, but a couple of years ago they used all 20 picks on pitchers, and some of those guys are going to hit. Well, I think Grichuk is an interesting guy. Again, another guy. They're like, the Yankees didn't go in. He's a right-handed bat in the outfield. They weren't going in on another right-handed bat. They weren't. Cron's an interesting guy, but he's not a guy the Yankees would have gone in on unless he was going to go play the outfield or something like that. Or if, they decided to shelve Rizzo after he hasn't had, more than a home run since May 20th. And obviously something happened maybe a few months ago with his neck or his back or whatever, and he hasn't been the same. Okay, that's a little bit of a different story. But, if he's going to play, you're not going to invest in somebody else probably. But Grichuk, Dawg, very interesting story. He was a first-round draft pick by the Angels 14 years ago. And in his first game with the Angels, he hit a home run. And it was the longest span between a player being drafted. I don't know if it was in the first round or overall. The longest span of a player being, I think it was first round, the longest span of a first-round draft pick hitting his first home run for that team, 14 plus years.
Wow.
Pretty awesome story, right?
That is a good one.
And the only reason why they probably make this deal is because Taylor Ward, who was really starting to heat up and have a solid season, took a real bad pitch to the face the other night. I don't know if you saw it.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Pretty sure he's out for the season, orbital fractures, facial fractures. And we hope
anything orbitals.
Yeah, he was down for a long time, and a lot of blood, pretty bad scene. And we hope Taylor Ward is recovering, but I think he's going to be out a while. But like, they go get Grichuk. You're always wondering when you get these guys from the Rockies, Dawg, right? Like, what am I going to get? What am I going to get?
Yep.
The Yankees got DJ LeMahieu to win a batting title.
Yeah, 860 goes to 760, right?
Or does it? I don't know. I mean, if you're hitting behind or in front of Shohei Ohtani, hey, can I hit in front of Ohtani? And then when Trout gets back, he can hit behind Ohtani. Like, all of a sudden, maybe 860 becomes 960 instead. Yeah. So they get a couple of good pitching prospects, one of whom, Jake Madden is probably the better of the two prospects. Shrewd move here by the Braves. They get Nicky Lopez from the Royals for a left-handed pitcher, Taylor Hearn. Lopez has been a Gold Glove defensive type. Very interesting that the Braves invested in him. like a bunting, running, defensive, replacement kind of guy, kind of a good insurance policy for a lot of positions. I could see him, if somebody goes down, like the people who hate the Braves go, where the hell did they get this guy from? How is this guy making plays like all over the time?
I'm just sitting reading about like Hearn. So the Braves just got him a week ago. He appeared for 4 games. He gave up 8 runs to 7 innings, and they flipped him for like a valuable guy, which is why you absolutely hate the Braves, right?
Yeah, but I mean, Lopez doesn't hit at all, right? I mean, he's sort of got like no bat, like if he's hitting like 250 with like a 310 on base and like a 400 slugging, like he's a, probably a starting everyday shortstop in the majors, but like he's not hitting that, Yeah. So that's why you could get him. Yeah, but you're right. Like they just take a guy and
literally has no value.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might have some value.
Is this guy? Maybe the Royals will take him. Who do they got? How about that Nicky Lopez guy? He can pick it.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're up to the Jordan Montgomery deal, Dawg.
There you go. Your boy.
Rangers get Jordan Montgomery and the righty, who's a lefty, Chris Stratton, the righty, from the Cardinals for Thomas Sagasi, who's a shortstop, a righty, Tekoa Roby, and a lefty, John King. Not John King from CNN, I presume. So that's for the rotation and the bullpen for the Rangers. So Montgomery goes to the rotation. And remember who the Rangers GM is, Dawg. Princeton's Chris Young, who played for Coach Scott Bradley. And, he was
for the Metsies.
Yeah, and he was a starting pitcher. So he's just going after starting pitching wherever he could get it. But that's because his top 2 starters are, not pitching because one of them is Jacob deGrom, who's not pitching for the rest of the year. And the other is Nathan Eovaldi, who's out for, who knows how long. So in that scenario, they basically, have sort of replaced those 2 with Scherzer and Montgomery. Not bad. Yep. We'll see what happens with Montgomery. Again, this is hilarious because, Montgomery for Harrison Bader was, a nice win for the Yankees. I still think that deal was a win. And here's why, because
home run for you last year. Home run. I mean,
you and
I on either side of that one, and you were 100% right last year.
Well, even if it was just for Bader as a rental, it turned out he did exactly what you would have dreamed if you said
beyond your dreams. Even getting on the field was questionable, and then tremendous.
And then in the playoffs, he doesn't show up to the playoffs, and then in the playoffs he becomes Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
So what more could you like? That's what you want. Like if you have just a rental, you're like, well, this guy freaking went crazy in the playoffs. Like it was worth it, Carlos Beltran for the Astros, right? Like he went bananas in the playoffs, and it would have been nice to sign him back. They didn't do it, and probably that was a mistake. But Montgomery he's on a good team. He's a back of the rotation, solid starter who can get you innings. On a good team, that's nice to have. And then when you get to the playoffs, he's probably not going to start. And that's what happened for the Cardinals last year. He came out of the pen, bases loaded situation, attempt to salvage their season, and he lets one guy score and, kind of does a pretty good job. But listen, if he was that good, he would have been starting the game. Like over Quintana, by the way, who the Mets signed. So I don't dislike Jordan Montgomery. I just don't think he's as good as everybody somehow believes he is. Harrison Bader is just, to me, a more valuable player. And I don't think that you can greatly predict injuries. Montgomery's had his share, but he's been exactly for the Cardinals what he was in the rest of his career. He's like a 500 pitcher who can give you innings. He doesn't cause any controversy. He doesn't cost you a lot of money, but in a big game, if you have to start him in a big game, like, hope that it's against Aaron Savali. Fair?
Yeah.
Fair. And the prospects they got were the 11th and 14th best Rangers prospects.
Even last year, the Yankees were a little light in the starting rotation. I think that was sort of the thing that people were sort of jacked about. Rewinding it back, right? Is that the Yankees didn't have a ton of starting pitching. It sort of seemed like an odd sort of, like, it wasn't necessarily getting Bader. Like picking up Bader was, an interesting move, but it wasn't like the Yankees were dealing from a position of strength necessarily in the starting rotation. It kind of felt like you kind of just dumped the guy out, and he could have been at least he wasn't pushed out by the talent around him yet, I would say, would be the argument against it.
Dawg, there was almost no differentiation from the 3rd through 6th starters for the Yankees last year. And that being the case, if somebody thinks Montgomery's the valuable guy and you're going to get a center fielder who's the best defensive center fielder in the league, why is that even a hard deal to think about? I mean, it's different if he's your 3rd starter and the guys behind them are no good, and you know that, but you couldn't determine the difference between Herman and Taillon and Montgomery and who, like, they were all basically the same guy in different colors, shades, sizes, and arms. Yeah. So
I mean, the funny thing about it,
like, I would have loved to have given up Domingo Herman for Harrison Bader, but he wasn't going to bring him back. But Montgomery did, and I want to re-sign Bader. So there.
Well, the interesting thing about it was that it wound up working out for you. Like, you did at the time thinking for Bader for this year. And obviously, with injuries and stuff, that wound up not being the case. Well, wound up making a great trade for the Yankees. So it's like the unexpected of 2022 and the playoffs that you kind of didn't think it. I mean, at least I didn't think at the time. I didn't think the guy was going back, period. And wound up getting back and wound up having a huge impact. So I think it was sort of wound up being a good trade, at least a decent to a good trade for the Yankees. Not necessarily for the reasons that I think most people would have thought.
Okay. The rookie from Monmouth, Erin Mulligan, has not been able to join us on the Zoom, but she's in the chat. So she's pushing the chat here. Bader was the best addition, only perfect Yankee during the playoffs. So happy they didn't trade him today. Amen. See, this is why she's good, Dawg. Okay, not good. Great. Good, great. Uncle Paul says good player with the thumbs up. Bader is. Uncle Paul saying it in Yoda language. Aaron agrees 100%. And Uncle Paul says he's what Nimmo is to the Mets. Very interesting.
Wow.
Meaning they're both center fielders?
That's an aggressive. That's a very aggressive read on Bader. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, Uncle Paul likes him.
Yeah. Guess so. Yeah, I think I take Nims on that one.
Okay. Blue Jays get Jordan Hicks from the Cardinals for Sem Robers and Adam Kloffenstein. That was good because I have Jordan Hicks in my fantasy league. So he'll now move over from getting saves for a bad team to getting saves for a good team while Jordan Romano's on the shelf. Not a bad deal. I guess they knew they were going to lose Hicks, and this is kind of the best that he's performed. He throws super hard, but he's never really been able to harness it or stay healthy. So another move that the Jays sort of had to make because Romano was going on the DL, and they just decided to pull the trigger. To wrap it up, Dawg, it was the Astros got Kendall Graveman. This was a few days before from the White Sox for the catcher Corey Lee. So they helped the back of the bullpen there, which has been a shit show for the Astros. The one thing we didn't really talk about with the Scherzer deal, which was the day after, the guy they got back is Ronald Acuña's little brother, Luis Angel Acuna. How excited are we about that?
I mean, he's supposed to be pretty good. Actually, it was funny. He was because it's short and second. I'm like, all right, great. We have a gajillion guys already banging for short. Supposed to also plays center, which I was really fired up on. And then that's just got like Drew Gilbert. So I'm like, oh, I don't know, but yeah, potentially just sort of like a great athlete guy, great speed, which I kind of like too. That's kind of coming back into the game. So I think introducing a guy like that is very valuable. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that.
That was yeah. We got to give Billy Epler a little bit of credit right there.
Yeah, he got
go get your rivals, brother.
So yeah, so we'll see. I think
Dog, you know what we did miss though? Like from these other days, there were some of these big deals. Like the Dodgers got Lance Lynn and Joe Kelly from the White Sox. Lance Lynn's been like horrendous this year, but you just have this weird feeling like, I don't know, now he's with the Dodgers. Is he all of a sudden going to become something again? The Mets, the other deal we didn't talk about was David Robertson going to the Marlins, and they get Marco Vargas and Ronald Hernandez, a couple of prospects there, one as an infielder and one as a catcher. So I kind of like at least those deals for the Mets. Like the ones that were not Verlander are kind of fine. Like,
yeah.
Help restart. Like they're not high top quality prospects, but
I would like to have seen someone a little bit closer with Robertson. I think they might have sold a little bit.
Yeah, I think
a little bit low on Robertson. Like I think he's a little better. They could have gotten him. I mean, people rave about Vargas. I don't know. So maybe he'll be tremendous in 3 years. I'm like, thank God we got him. But that one did sort of feel. And again, like you need the pitcher, right? If he was like the 18-year-old phenom pitcher, I'd feel better than, that's really where the team need is. But we'll see. I mean, so far I had stuff to tell, right?
So that
good player, and you hope it works out.
I think the alternate deal would have been if you traded him to the Astros instead of them getting Kendall Graveman. But Corey Lee was the guy that you kind of wanted to get from the White Sox, the catcher, a former first-round pick. He's like hitting again this year. So he's a guy that I thought that was a good deal for the White Sox, but like for the Mets, do you want to stock up on the catcher being like the higher prospect? Probably not so much.
Like, yeah, I mean, they already have Pareda and you have Albert. I mean,
right?
They always have value, right? So you can always move them.
But
you're kind of getting that guy to future trade him.
This was a better deal. I think this was a better deal. I think they made the right deal for Robertson, but yeah, maybe they did sell a little bit low. Carlos Santana goes to the Brewers. So the Brewers kind of made a lot of moves. Lucas Giolito and Ronaldo Lopez go to the Angels from the White Sox. So, and Lopez, it looks like might close, like he's starting closing, which is kind of interesting. Those guys were traded together once before. They were in the Nationals deal with the White Sox. Who was it? Oh, damn it. Now I can't remember. It was a few years ago, though. And you talked about Ahmed Rosario for Noah Syndergaard, Jorge Lopez for Dylan Floro, the Marlins and the Twins swapping a couple of mound pieces there. And let's see if we go back a few more days. Kike Hernandez. Yeah. To back to the Dodgers, lightning in a bottle, playoff type player, right? Playoff type player for the Dodgers. They just keep adding back those same guys. Yeah, I think we covered it, Dog. I think we covered it. All right, back to the chat. Okay, Uncle Paul says a good leadoff and speedy, good above average defender. Aaron Mulligan, the rookie from Monmouth, says, interesting, who will be the better brother? Will they be the Watts or the Mannings of MLB?
That's good.
Dog and Uncle Paul sure hope they will be.
Sounds all right to me.
Listen, if you just even get into a debate
conversation is pretty good
about who might be the better brother at any given time,
that's okay.
Then the Mets did great on that deal. I don't know. Met fans still irate though. You just go with it.
The Verlander trade, we'll see. That's either gonna work out really great or you're gonna really tick about in the middle of next year.
Dawg, Gatto Acupuncture and Wellness now, Franklin Lakes, New Jersey. Book online at gattoacu.com or call 551-212-3845. Mascolo Group Realtors serving Northern Valley and Pascack Valley in New Jersey. Go to GaryMascolo.com or call 201-615-3665. FMSgraphics.com, a family-owned, family-run business for over 50 years. Go to FMSgraphics.com for all of your printing and promotional needs. And don't forget about Big Ed's Car Wash, 17-16 River Road in Fair Lawn, New Jersey. Clean and green, a 118-foot tunnel. Tell Ed that Diamond Die Hards sent you. Go follow the show everywhere you possibly can on social media at Diamond Diehards. You can follow the Dawg at Jeff Healy 8. That's the number 8. And you can follow the rookie from Monmouth, Aaron Mulligan, at Aaron_Mulligan23 on Twitter. I think, hopefully I got that right. If not, she'll scream at me because I'm not going back and editing it. As always,
right.
In the description of the show, any of our supporters, advertisers, or the handles for social media, it's all there in the description, no matter if you're on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@DiamondDiehards, or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever. Okay, she confirmed that it's right on the chat. Run in the chat tonight. That's kind of a big help, actually.
That's huge.
Kind of a big help.
Huge.
Yeah. So that's gonna wrap it up. All the follows, all the things, blah blah blah. Trade deadline is done. Dawg, you got a prediction real quick about who's going to make the playoffs in the NL and the AL? Go ahead. Start with the NL, and then
I have
the
no
NL
right
and then
now.
the AL.
I have no view right now.
Who's going to grab?
That's too far out. Too far out.
The Braves are in.
Yeah.
The Brewers or the Reds? Who's going to win the division? Will it be them or will the Cubs rise up?
I think the Brewers. I think they made better moves. Actually,
okay,
I think the Brewers will sneak it out.
Okay, Brewers will hold off.
Yeah.
Dodgers, are they in cruise mode now in the NL West, or can the Giants spoil the party, or the Diamondbacks? The Diamondbacks still hanging in there.
I think Cinderella's gonna find out she's just drunk and it's not lost a shoe with Diamondbacks.
Okay, so
we're going Dodgers.
We got the Dodgers, we got the Braves and the Brewers. Now give me your 3 wild cards.
Probably the Giants.
Okay.
I will go with the Marlins. Done enough. Painfully, I'm actually think the Phillies are actually going to hold on. I think the Phillies are going to kind of get it going.
And then for the other spot,
and then that's the Giants, Phils, and I kind of want to give it to the. You know what? I'm going to throw it to the Marlins. Wow. I'm going to say the shocker. I think I'll go with them. I think the Giants are going to fall back, and I think the Diamondbacks fall back. I think the Marlins will be the surprise one instead of the Metsies for that wild card in the East.
Wow.
About that. How about your AL?
Wait, I didn't even do the NL. Or wait.
All right. We're doubling up. Okay, we're doubling up. Okay. I wasn't sure if we're doubling up.
Yeah, so I figured I could do. I'll do the NL second, but then I'll do the AL first.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. So the Braves are. I think they're home free pretty much. The Reds have the lead. But I agree with you about the Brewers. I think they just made a couple of more moves that I like a little bit better. But I got to say, Dawg, I'm kind of bothered by their -16 differential. And I'm kind of bothered by the Reds being +4. So I'm going way off the board. I am going to take the Cubs. They're 53 and 53, but they're +56. I feel, and they made some moves. They didn't make a lot, but the ones that
Stroman's spitting a bit.
Hey, I don't think he's going to be that bad. I don't think he's going to be that bad.
We'll see.
That's a big run difference.
True. They're only 53 and 53 with all that runs.
They're fourth in the NL in run difference. I'm going to say that I'm going to say they get the division.
Okay.
Then for the wild cards, so my preseason prediction, if you remember this, and my buddy Juan reminds me because I told him, I felt like the Diamondbacks had a chance to get off to a really good start, but they were razor thin. Now, I like the moves that they made. I don't know if it's enough for them to carry on. I felt like they were a front runner and a fader.
Mm-hmm.
What did I tell you about the Padres? They have all these shortstops, right? It's going to take a while for them to figure it out. You got a shortstop playing right field. You got a shortstop playing center field. You got a shortstop playing first base. You got a shortstop playing third. You got a shortstop playing second. And you have Xander Bogaerts playing short. It's going to take a while for them to figure it out. But when they do, they're going to be like a house of fire. The Dodgers will take that division. They're just too much Dodgerdom for them not to. And their moves are great. So I got the Braves, the Cubs, and the Dodgers. I'm not saying the Padres are going to get the first wild card. I think they will continue to be on. They're 3 games under 500. The Mets are 5 under. The Padres have made deals to go in on it. I think the Padres are going to continue to roll, and I think they will get one of the wild cards.
Plus, you love that plus 62 to run differential.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, it does
it's right there.
It does figure to bear out. Mm-hmm. It does figure to bear out. I think the Phillies will continue to roll, and they get another wild card. And I'm really, really, really torn up on the Giants and the Reds. I'm really torn up. Oh, and the Brewers too, because I didn't like the Brewers as much until these moves. So I think I'm with you, Dawg. I think you kind of unintentionally talked me into the Brewers. I like the Brewers moves. Like they just moved around a couple of things, and even though their run difference is below, I think they made themselves a better team. The Reds have played so over their head on the road. I think they're like 24-8 in their last 32 road games. That's so hard to keep up. Like at some point, and they're only 28-26 at home. They're 31-23 on the road. That's hard to keep up. That's really hard. The Brewers are over 500 at home and on the road, but slightly. The Cubs are 500 on both, right on the mark. So those are my teams in the NL. In the AL, boy, it's really hard to ignore the Orioles, especially with the moves that they've made and the way that they're playing. I watched them last night. I watched Austin Hayes make a ridiculous catch in the biggest spot, and the Orioles just have some mojo, and they're playing just so well, and they're so consistent. I think they hold on for the division. The Twins versus the Guardians, I don't know. Now take your pick. Are the Tigers out of it at 47-59? The Guardians have the manager, but I think with Bieber out and with the moves that they made in their rotation, they sort of switch guys around. I mean, like Thor replaces Savali. Savali's been better, but but Thor has immense ability. I got to figure the Twins are going to find a way. It might be close, but I think the Guardians just are going to. I just don't think they'll have quite.
They'll find a way to beat Cleveland.
Well, no, I mean, being Cleveland means usually they find a way to make the playoffs. Actually, the Astros and the Rangers for the West. You gotta like
and the Angels knocking on the door too.
That's not a bad point, but you gotta like the Astros with the moves they made, just because the Rangers have basically like the Rangers have done enough to kind of fill the gaps of the injured guys. So they don't get as much of a boost from the deals they made to be better than they are. They made those deals to like be able to stay where they are. The Astros made deals to like take a jump, and they're only a half game back. So as much as the Yankee fan hates to do it, I have to pick the Astros to rally back and win the division. For the wild card, Texas, I cannot see them folding that much. And I'm sort of surprised at this, but I've had an inclination that the Rays are just going to keep nosediving. And I know all the numbers suggest otherwise, but, and, you know, they've rebounded here with a couple of wins after, you know, they were 7-16 to start July. You know, they won against the Yankees last night, but I've sort of had this inclination that the Rays were going to fall off the pace. Does that open the door for the Angels enough? That's a tough question. Does it open the door for Toronto and Boston and the Yankees? Even Seattle is kind of there, but they just made one too many moves that I thought are probably going to keep them from making it. So I'm going to say the Angels and Ohtani with Trout coming back at some point. I'm going to say that they rise up and grab one of those spots.
Okay.
And then Tampa gets in a scramble. They find themselves in a scramble with Toronto and Boston and the Yankees. And I don't know. I don't know if the Yankees have enough. I mean, it's kind of daunting with the amount of teams that they have in front of them, but they're not really that far out if they find their winning streak.
Yankees are getting Judge back and nobody else is.
And they got some pitchers back now.
I'm saying like that's like, like a deadline pickup, right? I mean, you picked up Aaron Judge. That's pretty good pickup.
Pretty good pickup. I don't know, Dawg. Am I too much of a wuss if I say Tampa will hold on, but they'll get the 6th wild card? Is that? I mean, I think that in and of itself, with a 5-game wild card lead, if they end up with the 6th seed and they just make it, I think that's a pretty out there prediction, right?
Yeah, I mean, rocking a 139 run differential right now and barely making the playoffs. That's a statement.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'm going to take the other side. I'm going to check on that. I think Tampa is going to take the division. So I give them the AL East. I'm back and forth on the Central, actually. I was leaning towards Cleveland, but I think I'm going to combine it. I think I'm going to go with the Twinkies on that. I think the Twinkies will find a way to kind of hold on there. I think, unfortunately, the Astros, again, you sort of laid it out perfectly, right? I mean, the Rangers got Scherzer, the Astros got Verlander, and I think that's just that's 2 or 3 games right there that I think down the stretch is going to hit it. The Angels one's an interesting one with if Trout comes back and they do get that little bit of a heat, they could put the pressure on him, but I'll go with Tampa, Minnesota, and Houston for the divisions. And then I do think Baltimore made some nice moves, so I think they'll take the wild card. I think the Blue Jays are finally going to find their way. So I think the Blue Jays are actually going to take a wild card in there as well. And I'm a little torn between the Angels and the Rangers. I think the kind of Trout coming back, and I'll go with the Angels as well for the 3rd wild card.
So you got the Rangers out.
I had the Rangers out. Yeah.
Yeah. That's an even bigger prediction than the one I made.
Well, we're right there with it, but I mean, it's tough division.
Dawg just put the Rangers And they're plus 145 run differential out of the playoffs.
There's 60 wins, and the Rays are 65, and Toronto's 59, right? So they're right there. I kind of like Toronto, kind of providing a little insulation to themselves at the deadline here. And like I said, I think I think frankly I think Scherzer as 4 ERA is going to wind up being not the pickup they thought they were going to get.
It's a good call. All right, we gave you all the follows. We told you what to do. Now you just have to go do it. Tell a friend to tell a friend, as Dawg and I like to.
There you go.
Steal from our mutual favorite. Oh, Debbie Rizzo chimes in. Polar Bear with a home run. Mm-hmm. And the Mets refusing to die.
The Mets go sweep the Royals this week, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're gonna completely.
Which is again like the crazy thing on the Verlander one. Like, can you get something together? You be kicking yourself if you're 3 games up. Yeah, halfway through August, and we gave away Verlander. Yeah, you might kick yourself a little bit.
Missing the whole freaking night of baseball here. Yankees losing to the Rays 5-0 in the 5th inning. That's not good. Marlins 1-0. They have 10 hits through 7 innings, but they're only up 1-0 over the Phillies. Angels hanging in there against the Braves. They got to keep.
I'm sure I'm rooting for the Marlins Phillies there.
Orioles just jumped ahead of the Jays. Nobody cares. Yeah. Oh, wow. Oh, Mets are beating the Royals 1-0, and it's a no-hitter right now. Holy crap. That is, let's see.
Way to jinx it there.
Wow. Quintana carrying a no-hitter into the 2nd inning in KC. But if he throws if he throws it,
mark the tape. Mark the
tape, baby. All right. And as Dawg said before, this is why every show is like a half hour. But an hour and a half, whatever. It's a half hour more than an hour. All right. That's going to do it. Next time.
Audience, let me say, every show I try.
Yeah. Next time, we'll see who's on. We'll see what kind of show it is. But for this time, that is going to do it. For the Dawg, Jeff Healy, this is Joe Rizzo. Diamond Diehards is out.